like
Hello.
that. Like that in the middle of the morning.
Natalie says she's so ready as well. Bethany, I'm so ready. Hi, Kim. Hi, Dawn. She's so
Shauna?
silly. Shauna's silly throwing out dog treats.
Is that for me?
Maybe.
I'll try it. I will try it.
Okay. Okay.
All right, what do we got here? We got Me Too, Beth. So ready. Kim Johnson. Hello, Rufus O'Callaghan.
Hey, Rufus.
Rufus O'Callaghan.
Y'all are so nice.
Hi, guys. Hey, Sarah and Nick.
All right, so
Hi.
Nikki has missed this.
It's been a while.
I Am What I Am by McGregor, and you see the star girl up at the top. We're about halfway to a milestone point where 3 will be invited to his his virtual hangouts, which are going on this weekend, next weekend, every weekend in August, with his identical twin Kelly. So you can get your tickets now at NickyBrendon.com, and yeah, I'm excited to show where everybody's gonna have so much fun.
So much fun. See here. Okay, hello. It's Chacona. So I have no idea where we left off. So I'm just gonna start with chapter 9 to give a little overview of the story so far. Xander is the war overlord. He rules with an iron fist.
I won't be too far. Just holler.
Okay. No. So, in the story so far is this in a nutshell. Xander, the world has the story starts with everyone knows about demons now. The gang, Xander. Willow only does magic. She doesn't really come out. Xander sees her from time to time, but she's very, she's just a recluse and is so into magic that she doesn't really doesn't know how to talk to people. Xander is the head of this organization and he's one of the most well-known people in the world. He takes care of all the Slayers and stuff and gets them there. And then he went into a machine, and I know that the older Xander, who had a baby with Faith and married Faith, and then Faith was killed, and then it's looking like Xander and Buffy are going to get together. But the older Xander goes back to the younger Xander, so he becomes that Xander, and then so he's kind of helping along the way, knowing what he knows now. Essentially, that's where we're at. Buffy, older Xander has asked Buffy because she's there to move into the house and help him take care of his daughter. What's the daughter's name? And so she does, and I think they also. So he's gonna end up having 2 loves. It's gonna be Buffy and Faith, and that's, from what I can recall, that is where we are at. And here we go. Helen, thank you so much. Hannah Weber, what are you talking about? What? This is a fan fiction. It's my first fan fiction that I'm reading, Hannah Weber. So it's actually really, really good. It's so good that I forget that like it's gotten into me, where it's like I forget that it's not canon. So there we go. Chapter 9 coming out. Oh. Gak. All right. Buffy was very nervous. Oh man, was she ever nervous? So, and I'm dealing with a cracked screen phone. It's gonna be hard. All right, here we go. So when she smiled at herself in the mirror, it was a very nervous smile, because Buffy Summers was very, very, very nervous. It was a good surprise. Vampires are real, and it's kind of my job to kill them. Blouse, she asked herself. Is this a good surprise? Vampires are real, and it's kind of my job to kill them, Blouse? She asked herself. Her reflection was no help at all, although its frumpy appearance made her rethink her pants. It was Thanksgiving, and soon the entire gang would be arriving for some good old-fashioned turkey eating and bombshell dropping. Xander had suggested that the entire gang be there for the unveiling, as it might help Joyce if she saw. Okay, yeah. So we're back in young Xander. Okay. As it might help Joyce as if she saw Buffy and had the support system in place helping her. Then again, it might make her think she'd joined some kind of cult. She sighed at herself in the mirror. This was going to be a complete disaster. She was going to wind up in the loony bin, and her friends were going to be hacked to death by a crazed mother wielding an electric turkey carving knife. This was stupid. Why had she agreed to it? Because Xander seemed to know what he was talking about, that's why. Or was it because Xander was leaving and she wanted him to know she was sorry for all the things she'd said and done to him recently? That was a little closer to the truth. She still couldn't quite grasp the notion of Xander leaving. He was only 16. He couldn't go traipsing across the world just to find some girl he hadn't met yet. He's looking for Faith. He had school and other things, except he wasn't exactly 16 anymore. The truth was Buffy wasn't entirely sure how old Xander was at all anymore. Older than Giles maybe, but probably still younger than Angel. Maybe that's why it didn't freak her out. She was in love with a man some 200 years older than her. Compared to that, Xander's age was not that big of an issue. Now, isn't that pedophilia? So Buffy's 16, Angel is 216. I mean, it's a felony. Not that Buffy loved Xander, liked him, that was all. As a friend, a good friend. Besides, this wasn't 16-year-old Xander with a crush on her. This was adult Xander in 16-year-old Xander's body. Those looks he gave her sometimes, her imagination surely. Xander had been nothing but respectful of her and Angel, and ever since, what was that song? And ever since, his change has been respectful of her and Angel ever since his change, something that the old Xander, or rather the young Xander, had never been able to do. Sometimes it hit her. The Xander she knew was gone. He changed so dramatically since Halloween, an entire lifetime of change. That's what it was. So I went into my Halloween costume. I think I dressed as myself in the Ethan Rain Halloween costume, and I came back as myself. That's how. Okay, cool. All right, it's coming back to me. Who was she kidding? She probably wouldn't have ever known 20-year-old Xander anyway. Statistically speaking, she'd be long dead by then. And there were times when she thought she could see the old young Xander and this new Xander. When he was bickering with Cordelia. When he was making some off-the-wall reference. Or when he was just being that goofball that was Xander Harris. Hey! So it wasn't like he wasn't Xander. He was just more of some parts and less of others. He was certainly more confident now, both socially as well as physically. She'd been really impressed with his level of skill during their sparring sessions. Buffy supposed she shouldn't be surprised about that. It made sense that Xander would try and learn how to best defend himself as his life went on. Except that the notion that he would have to learn such things troubled her. It meant that Xander had probably never left this life. How young was he when he died? What? It could be only a few years from now. It would make sense that he would learn how to fight if he was going to help Buffy. She smiled a little bit at that. She'd probably been the one to teach him in the first place. That would be just like Xander, to use her own future moves against her. Maybe tonight, if her mother didn't go crazy, Buffy would offer to help train Willow, maybe Oz and Jonathan too, since they had seemed to integrate into the group so quickly. Xander would probably like that. Maybe he could even help, since he was technically much more proficient than she was. Yeah, it made sense. Proactive. Just like why she was telling her mom. Like Xander said, knowledge only makes you stronger. Keeping Willow and the others out of danger would be nearly impossible on the Hellmouth. If they had some training in basic combat and weapons, then they'd be much more likely to stay safe. Why had that never occurred to her before? Probably had occurred to her, just not until sometime in the future. Probably around when her mom found out the first time. That was weird too. To think that this was the second time. She certainly didn't feel like it was the second time. She wasn't sure she liked thinking about it. Besides, things were different now anyway. Drusilla was supposed to kill Kindra, but Drusilla was dead herself, along with Spike, who had somehow been Xander's roommate. She still suspected he was pulling her leg on that one. How in the world could Spike and Xander have ever ended up as roommates? Whoever had been behind that idea must have had a few screws loose. That was actually my idea for the comics. So I guess I've got a few screws loose. Well, now Xander had a new roommate, not to mention a new room. Buffy had been pretty shocked to find out that Xander had sold the priceless Duloc cross after melting it down. She imagined that Giles' head had probably exploded at hearing the news. Even more shocking, though, was the sheer amount of money he'd made from the deal. According to Xander, people were willing to pay big bucks for a holy relic, even if it was melted down. Xander had assured her that the cross was no threat now. It was its form and design that acted as the decoder for the ancient languages. The people who bought it now, and she hoped that they were actually people, would be using it as an enhancer for several spells and rituals, all of which were benign, Xander claimed. So Xander now had an impressive bank account, more than enough to buy a small house, a house that was only several blocks from Buffy's own house. Buffy was still a little confused as to why Xander was so adamant about moving out of his parents' house. Well, after watching last night's episode, I know why. Hell's Bells, I know why. But she wasn't the one to argue. Why Xander needed an entire house all to himself had been a little bit of a mystery at first, too, until she realized that Xander had no intention of living there by himself. Kendra, who treated Xander as sort of a combination between crush and mentor, had been invited to stay in one of the extra rooms. No one had been very surprised when she agreed to stay, although her watcher had made some blustery threats until Giles had pointed out that this was the Hellmouth, and the presence of a second Slayer was very much necessary. The council had agreed on a tentative basis that Mr. Zabuto was forced to let the matter go. Still, there was some talk that he might be coming to Sunnydale, no semi-permanent basis soon if Kendra decided to stay. Aside from Kendra, Buffy suspected that Xander had plans of bringing back his wannabe Slayer with him at some point as well. 16-year-old Xander Harris in a house with 2 teenage girls all alone, Buffy definitely didn't like the sound of that. Well, at least it wouldn't be happening for some time. Xander had been busy in the last few days in preparation for leaving. The house had been the first thing he did. The second thing had been conscripting Buffy and Kendra to use their Slayer's strength for something useful for a change. By helping him move in some extremely heavy equipment into his new basement, helping consisted of Kendra and Buffy doing all the heavy lifting while Xander sipped iced tea and directed them. Xander swore that they would like the surprise he'd have for them after a few days of having the equipment set up, so Buffy wasn't at all upset about being used as the muscle. Kendra had of course, helped eagerly and happily, and later revealed to Buffy that Xander had put her on what they both called a salary. It was a generous weekly stipend that Kendra could use for living expenses while Xander was gone. When Buffy had inquired what Kendra did to earn a salary, Xander had replied, slay vampires and save the world. This, of course, had led to Buffy being extremely surprised to find herself on a salary as well. Xander told her there was an account in her name at his bank. Now that had been pretty shocking. It felt a little weird to accept money from Xander, but he pointed out that the cross had been found during a patrol, and technically the entire Scooby Gang should be entitled to the profits. Besides battling the forces of darkness every day, should qualify her for a little restitution. So Buffy hadn't protested her newfound wealth too much. Maybe her mom wouldn't get so upset if she knew Buffy could help out with money now. Making money through slaying, what an odd concept. Of course Xander had brought up the very subject to her a few times. His suggestion was to mug the vampires before staking them, which Buffy found oddly distasteful. She supposed that selling any ancient priceless relics that they came across while saving the world wasn't quite as bad. If only she didn't have to tell her mom about slaying, Buffy might be able to say that her life was actually starting to go pretty well. It was only then that it occurred to her that she hadn't remembered to be devastated about Angel. What could that mean? Let's see. Thank you, Jennifer Love. Let's see, Nicola. Let's see here. I'll go over here. It's I don't even know how to. Oh, there we go. Let's see here. Good to see you, Nick. Feeling like you're living on the Hellmouth right now. Yes. Marissa and Dawn. Hello. Anniversary. Hi guys. Let's see. Natalie. Happy birthday, Marissa. Amy, thank you for the stars. Christine, thank you for the stars. Lena, thank you for the stars. I'm gonna read a little bit more, if that's okay with you guys. Alrighty, because I'm enjoying this fucking story. Goddamn. Okay. Joyce Summers carefully moved a stray strand of hair behind her ear and smiled at her reflection before opening the door. Her daughter's best friend Willow stood on the porch along with a fairly short young man with dyed blue hair. She did her best not to raise an eyebrow. Happy Thanksgiving, Willow, Joyce said as she opened the door. Come in. Willow and Oz shared a strange look. Thanks, Miss Summers, Willow said after a moment. This is Oz. He's my friend. Joyce smiled politely at the young man, who simply nodded at her in a silent greeting. Despite his strange appearance, he had a strange sense of calm about him, and Joyce found herself thinking that he was very much the opposite of the high-strung and shy Willow. Buffy's in the kitchen, I think, Joyce told Willow. She's trying to help with the potatoes, emphasis on trying. Willow grinned at Oz and gave a smile. Want me to help supervise her? Willow asked. Absolutely. The evening was going to be a strange one. Joyce knew. It was their first Thanksgiving in Sunnydale, and their first one without Hank. It was also the first time that they would be having so many of Buffy's friends coming. Joyce had been a little surprised at Buffy's request to invite so many people, but in the spirit of trying to help her daughter adjust to her new life, she had agreed. Even when Buffy had invited 2 of her teachers to dinner. She supposed it was a good sign that Buffy got along with her teachers, and that she would think to invite them to Thanksgiving, or that they would accept the invitation in the first place. This Mr. Giles and Miss Calendar must be very dedicated to their students. A few minutes later, Buffy had been ejected from the kitchen in the shame of potato mishap, and was forced to promise not to help. I won't help ever again, okay? With food anymore. Buffy pouted good-naturedly, but accepted her banishment based on the fact that she'd much rather eat the food than make the food. Willow turned out to be very helpful in the food preparation, and seemed to have an instinctive knowledge of ingredients, particularly spices. Already the house was bustling with people. She'd met some of them before, like Willow or Mr. Giles, and had even spent some time with them on occasion. Others, however, were more mysterious to Joyce. In particular was Angel, whom she was fairly certain she'd met before, but couldn't quite place it. She was also a little curious as to why this Angel person was here in the first place, as he seemed to keep very much to himself and seemed too old to be a student. Although there was that odd look or two that he gave Buffy sometimes when he thought no one was looking, a look that Buffy had given him several times as well, that had certainly raised her mother of a teenage daughter hackles. At the moment, though, Buffy was busy talking with Mr. Giles and a young man named Jonathan in the living room. Joyce could definitely see a mentor-like bond between Mr. Giles and Buffy. She was glad for that. Buffy could use a positive male role model, and it seemed that Mr. Giles seemed, by all accounts, to be a fine, upstanding gentleman. He also seemed to have a hero worship of Jonathan, which didn't necessarily surprise Joyce. Her initial impression of the young man was that he would be the type to be impressed by a librarian. The doorbell rang again, so Joyce excused herself from the kitchen to greet the latest guests. When she got there, Buffy had already opened the door, revealing Xander and a beautiful mocha-colored girl. Buffy introduced them. Mom? Kendra, Mom, she said with impeccable manners. Very pleased to meet you, Kendra said politely. Joyce raised an intrigued eyebrow at her accent. Very nice to meet you too, Kendra. That's an interesting accent you have there, Kendra. Is that Jamaican me crazy? It is, ma'am, Kendra replied. Very perspective of ya. I still say it's totally fake, Xander said, grinning. I bet she's really from Queens or something. What are you talking about? Forget about it, he said in a very poor New York accent. Kendra blushed slightly and smiled. Xander nudged her shoulder playfully. Oh my, Joyce thought. Someone's got a crush on Xander. Well, they had arrived together. Perhaps it was more than a crush. Xander, called Cordelia as she stalked up the steps. What are you wearing? The young man turned around to her in confusion. Clothes? I thought I told you to wear the black shirt. He looked down at his multicolored monstrosity of a shirt. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah? There are already people who know I'm dressing you, dweeb boy. Do you have any idea how poorly it reflects on me when you revert back to this Neanderthal fashion? Jeez, Cordy. You're telling people that you're dressing me? What am I, 5? She gave him an apprising look. Judging from how you dress, you'd be lucky to be 5. Buffy cleared her throat. Cordelia seemed to realize there were other people around. She gave Joyce a dazzling smile of heartfelt sincerity. Oh, happy Thanksgiving, Mrs. Summers, she had said brightly, and then she turned back to Xander without missing a beat. There's no way I'm ever going to admit to being friends with you if you keep dressing like some kind of kaleidoscope mishap. but that shirt's all stiff and tied around the neck, Xander whined. But that, okay, copy it. Well, then maybe we need to go back to the mall and find you something more comfortable, Xander threatened. No. Let's not jump to any hasty decisions here, Xander pleaded. Well, then you're changing right now. Into what? I brought some stuff with me. It's in my car. Xander groaned as Cordelia grabbed his hand and smugly dragged him outside to her car. A perplexed Kendra watched on. That's oddly thoughtful of her, Buffy remarked as she watched a very defeated Xander standing by a mannequin. Like a mannequin as Cordelia held up different shirts to his chest. It is? Joyce asked. Yeah, for Cordelia Chase, this is like Mother Teresa level of charity. Like washing feet or something. Joyce shook her head in amazement. Her daughter certainly had some very strange friends. A few minutes later, Xander and Cordelia returned to the house. Xander now dressed in a silk black shirt that showed off a rather impressive physique. Not that Joyce would ever admit that to anyone. After that, Willow and Joyce put the finishing touches on dinner on the dinner preparation, and all that was left was to wait for the turkey to finish cooking. Joyce took. Well, they should deep fry the turkey, and then they would be waiting for the potatoes, and the turkey would be done. I'm just saying. Joyce took her time to get to know some of Buffy's friends, particularly the teachers. I find it so incredible that Buffy wanted to invite her teachers to Thanksgiving dinner, Joyce told Mr. Giles and Miss Calendar. Oh well, I mean, Buffy's a very special student, Jenny said with a friendly smile. And you teach computer studies? I have to admit that Buffy never seemed to show much interest in computers. Jenny gave Giles a nervous look. You see that, Jenny, that is Miss Calendar is much more than a computer teacher. She's something of a friend, a mentor to many of the students, Giles said. Oh, well, that's wonderful. And you're the librarian? That's right. Joyce nodded. She still wasn't sure she understood why Buffy seemed to care for these particular teachers so much. Some devious little part of her brain wondered if there wasn't something sinister going on here. Predestination paradox? Huh? Joyce looked across the room to where Willow and Xander and Jonathan were in a heated discussion. Please, Jonathan said, his earlier shyness appearing to have vanished. If Marty was in a predestination paradox, then he could never have created an alternate reality in the first place. He didn't create it, Willow said. Biff did. Only Biff, I mean. Old Biff, I mean. Yeah, but only because of Marty, Xander pointed out. That's like saying that John DeLorean created time travel, Willow snorted. John DeLorean, who's he? Xander asked. The guy who invented the DeLorean, Jonathan said. I thought Doc Brown invented the DeLorean. No, he invented the time machine. John DeLorean invented the DeLorean. Well, that would make sense, him being DeLorean and all. But that still doesn't mean that it's a predestination paradox, Wills. Now, Zenito's giving himself the coin that made him a millionaire and then buying the coin to give it to himself. That's a predestination paradox. That's cheating, Willow exclaimed. That was magic, not science. Oh, please, Jonathan snorted. Like the flux capacitor is actually science. You could never, ever get a neutrino imbalance to work without violating 3 different laws of thermodynamics. Could so, Willow retorted rather lamely. You'd never win this one, John. Willow here thinks that Superman turning the Earth backwards was perfectly legit. Oh, wait. What? Jonathan said in horror. He's Superman, Willow said, as if that made all the difference in the world. What's that got to do with anything? He's super. Kneel before Zod, Xander bellowed suddenly. Willow and Jonathan burst into laughter. Joyce turned to Mr. Giles and Miss Calendar. Do you have any idea? Mr. Giles shook his head. It's best to ignore it. It will just give you a headache. All right, that's where we're going to be today. I'm going to do this again tomorrow. I very much enjoy. I love this fucking story. It makes me so happy. And right now, I think any way you can find happiness, you should fucking grab it and hold on to it. So this is McGregor. This dude did a really great job with this. So kind of awesome. Let me read about the going here. I'm going to hold please. Let's see here. I'm going to read some of the things. What am I? I'm on a computer. Like that's the point about boom. Jennifer love Jenny. She was my girl. This is such a great. I mean, it's neat to see like Jonathan there. I mean, it's funny because I just think of Danny. You know, Danny was the only person that it was aside for. I mean, so there was Tony, there was Cece, there's Charisma, there's myself, and Sarah. But Danny was in the pilot presentation as well. So like Danny, I remember like just kind of bonding with Danny on that pilot presentation. So it's kind of like it's neat to see him in the Scooby Gang and not in a fucking bell tower with a gun. You know. Thank you, Jennifer Love, for the stars. Xander always had an awesome dress sense. I think Xander dressed a lot like Bruce Campbell in Evil Dead. You know, Hawaiian shirts. It's funny watching the thing yesterday, watching Hell's Bells yesterday. I think I forgot about that episode because I didn't want to ever meet my parents, you know, and so meeting them, I was kind of like, I always wanted Bruce Campbell to be, Xander's dad, but like Bruce Campbell dressed as he was in Evil Dead. But as Katie Ash just comes up, I love Xander and Courtney, which is because Ash was the character's name in Evil Dead. Sandra Keeley, great to see you, Nikki. I've written a script for you. You play a cowboy in it. Love it. And kisses from England. I wanna be your cowboy, and you can be my cowgirl. Hi, what's up? Hi from Cheddar, England. Loving your work, man. Thank you so much. I'm gonna really try and do more of these at this hour, so that the UK can also be involved, or just all of Europe, really. Because I there's a lot of love there, and I love you guys back. These things, what are these pop-ups? What are you doing? No. See over here? Okay. Everyone in this fic has a whole lot of sexual thoughts. Yeah, that's right, they do. Jennifer Love, deep fried turkey. Is that a sexual thought? Is that innuendo? A euphemism? You are cool, but I missed it. The Giles impression, I know, right? It's great. I gotta be around Tony. Nice presentation of Giles. Right. It's my Giles is more really of a really bad Hugh Grant. It's a lot of stammering. So that's dude. My little boy Warfuck says hello. He's watching Buffy and he's 7. Yes, you make him laugh. He said, "Oh, that's very sweet. I will continue to make him laugh." Just watched that a week ago. Hi from England. Love Bristol. The flux capacity. I know, right? I know that. I mean, the people are into Back to the Future, and like I'm not in. I know it. I've seen it a couple times, but I mean, that shit's funny. That shit is funny. Kelly Wheeler. Hey. He's Superman. He's super. This is excellent. Took me back to my early schooling. We all had to sit around and listen to a story on Friday afternoon. A UK thing in infant schools. All kids behaving and listening contently. Relax now. This is fun. I know, Natalie. It is fun. You're welcome, Rufus. So I think I'm gonna do something tonight too, because it's fun and I love y'all. Maybe we'll watch something. Maybe we'll watch Firefly. So because those of you that don't know, Firefly was written for me. I was supposed to be the captain in Firefly, and then Fox wanted the show a little earlier, so Joss had to give it to Nathan. But I have never seen it, so I want to see. And I love Joss. I love his work, so I might watch Firefly tonight. So I thank you all very much. I love you. I really do. I don't know how to get out of this thing though. I'm gonna look around. I'm going to look around and see where the exit is. Here, the exit. Sarah question, is there another way of paying? Sarah, Brandy, Sarah, we'll get back to you. I'm just going to close that out real quick. Boom. Okay. All right. How the fuck do you get out of here? Hold on. Oh, I know. Hold on. Boom. Okay. And I have, no fucking clue. Computers, man. Following? No. Sarah! How do I exit? How do I end it? Hi, everyone. It's like, I don't want to leave you at all. I've been watching and rewatching for 20 years. I can't stop with the show. It's really a fantastic show, and I'm actually going to be. My twin brother Kelly has not seen any episodes, so I'm going to be watching it because Kelly's in between jobs right now because of the of COVID-19. So I'm going to be taking Kelly through the show, episode by episode. It's true. It's a true story.
What?
I am what I am, and that's all that I am, and I'll see you tonight.
Hi,
I'm sorry.
Nicole.
Oh, hi, Miss Green. Hi, baby.